You deeply crave expansion, a life filled with joy, abundance, and effortless ease. Yet a quiet resistance still pulls you gently backward, anchoring you softly but firmly to the shores of the past. Have you ever wondered why, despite your strongest intentions, there's always an invisible force guiding you back toward what feels familiar, even if what feels familiar isn't truly comfortable or fulfilling? It's because your ego, the protective part of your inner world, was never designed for growth. It was built to keep you safe in the territory you've already mapped out, the experiences you've already survived, even if those experiences are laced with struggle or scarcity. Your past is not just a memory, it's a blueprint etched deep into your nervous system, an energetic pattern memorized through constant repetition. This is precisely why, when you boldly commit yourself to a new, elevated frequency perhaps, one filled with love, prosperity, or inner peace, your mind begins to whisper gentle doubts, murmuring quietly that perhaps you're not ready, subtly, questioning whether it's even possible to sustain such joy and ease. In those delicate moments, your ego doesn't intend to harm or sabotage you. It simply reaches for the safety of familiarity, because the known requires no transformation, no challenge, only repetition. Notice this subtle dynamic within yourself. When you feel close to breaking through into a fresh chapter of life, there arises a tender hesitation, as if you're standing at the threshold of freedom, but your feet remain anchored in the doorway of yesterday. Recognize that your hesitation isn't weakness. It's a sign your ego perceives growth as stepping into the unknown, a space it can't fully control. The allure of yesterday comes from the illusion of certainty. It feels stable because it's been lived 1,000 times before. But true freedom, true fulfillment, lies beyond this comfort. To cross that threshold is to gently acknowledge the fear without becoming it. Only when you clearly see the ego's clever disguise, how it labels control as protection, can you compassionately begin to release its hold and softly move forward into the life you truly desire. Your ego quietly seeks refuge in familiar storms, not because it desires chaos, but because predictable struggle feels safer than unknown serenity. Deep within your subconscious patterns lies an identity intimately woven from experiences of hardship, anxiety, or pain, and this identity silently directs your choices without your conscious awareness. Imagine a scenario where success or kindness unexpectedly flows into your life. Rather than feeling immediate joy or celebration, you might sense a faint undercurrent of guilt, a subtle tightening of your chest, a pull toward retreating from this unfamiliar warmth. This reaction is not because you reject happiness. It's because your ego associates stability with what it knows best: familiar suffering. To the ego, survival means maintaining patterns already proven to keep you safe, even if these patterns are restrictive and uncomfortable. Thus, when breakthroughs and transformations occur, your ego often activates a gentle yet persistent sabotage, guiding you softly back into the arms of old, familiar struggles. This explains why moments of genuine abundance or ease sometimes feel fleeting. They're simply too unfamiliar for your internal protector to trust fully. Recognize this dynamic clearly. Your ego does not fear failure, it fears peace, the profound calm that accompanies true alignment. Peace feels uncertain because it asks nothing from you. It does not require control, effort, or constant vigilance. To your protective self, peace means surrendering familiar coping mechanisms, leaving behind the very identity you've relied on to navigate life's uncertainties. Your ego quietly whispers that letting go of these protective patterns might leave you exposed, vulnerable, and unprepared. But what exactly is your ego protecting you from? It's not protecting you from external danger, but from internal transformation, from becoming someone who effortlessly embraces joy without hesitation, someone whose identity no longer revolves around constant struggle. Gently ask yourself, who would I be without this familiar tension, without this repetitive cycle? When you begin to question the safety of suffering, you open the doorway to profound transformation. Let's explore further the hidden layers beneath this resistance, gently revealing what your ego truly believes it's safeguarding by holding on to control. Awareness is the gentle but powerful beam of clarity that illuminates the hidden corners of your subconscious, quietly dissolving the silent patterns of your old identity. The instant you turn inward and observe your thoughts, feelings, and reactions without judgment, you create a subtle yet profound shift, weakening the grip these unconscious loops have held over your life. Notice this clearly. Your goal is not to struggle against your former self or push away its habits forcefully, because resistance only strengthens their roots. Instead, gently witness the familiar games your ego plays, the quiet whispers of doubt, the subtle urges to control, or the soft pulls toward anxiety. Each time you feel these old energies rising within you, pause for a brief moment, breathe deeply into your heart, and softly remind yourself, this is not who I am anymore. With this simple yet intentional act, you create distance between your true self and the habitual reactions that have long defined your past. Your mindful awareness begins to gently unravel the emotional ties binding you to repeated cycles of struggle, releasing their hold bit by bit. Understand deeply that awareness alone does not rewrite your past experiences or erase what you've lived through. It liberates you from unconsciously reliving these patterns again and again in your present reality. The real magic unfolds as you learn to recognize these inner dynamics with compassion rather than criticism, softly exposing the ego's well-crafted illusions. When you notice without resistance, observe without reaction, you begin to see clearly how these subtle mechanisms operate, and you reclaim your power to choose differently. Your consciousness becomes your greatest ally, gently interrupting old habits before they fully emerge and guiding you back to alignment, presence, and peace. As you master this delicate art of self-awareness, you'll find yourself increasingly free from the repetitive dramas that once shaped your days. Awareness gently restores your true identity, allowing the calm observer within you to emerge naturally. Now, with a clearer understanding of how awareness softly unravels your ego's subtle attempts at control, let's explore even deeper, uncovering the very root of your ego's persistent tension, the deep need to control every outcome in your life. Have you ever noticed that just when life begins to feel calm and peaceful, something inside you whispers quietly that it might not last, that maybe you're missing something, or that perhaps you should be doing more? This subtle feeling is not coming from your true self, but from your ego, a part of your mind constantly searching for problems to fix, issues to worry about, and tasks to accomplish. Your ego isn't interested in peace, because peace means there's nothing left to do, nothing left to solve. And without something to solve, your ego fears it will lose its purpose. Think about it this way. Your ego thrives on feeling useful, and it convinces you that something is wrong, or that you are somehow incomplete, needing constant improvement or repair. This pattern is not because you're genuinely broken. Rather, it's because your ego depends on the perception of imperfection to survive. It constantly scans your life, looking for small flaws or perceived shortcomings, creating inner conflicts and tensions that aren't truly necessary. Picture a typical day when everything is flowing smoothly. You're feeling peaceful and things seem effortlessly good. Yet suddenly, a thought creeps in, questioning if this peace is too good to be true, or if there's some hidden problem waiting around the corner. The ego softly whispers to you that perhaps you haven't done enough, achieved enough, or proven your worth enough today. In those moments, recognize clearly that nothing in your reality needs fixing. The anxiety or restlessness you're feeling is merely your ego attempting to regain control. Remember this powerful truth. You are not broken, and you never were. Your ego's fixation on finding faults is simply a strategy to maintain its significance, because it fears being unneeded or irrelevant. By gently noticing when your ego stirs this inner unease, you can begin to release its grip. The more clearly you recognize that these doubts are artificial creations, unnecessary concerns manufactured by the ego to keep itself occupied, the more freedom you'll feel. Understanding this pattern deeply helps you reclaim the peace you deserve. And when peace does arrive genuinely in your life, remember, your ego doesn't rest instead. It becomes frightened by this calm, because tranquility means it has nothing left to control. When your life becomes quiet, when the motion stops and there are no immediate tasks to tackle or problems demanding your attention, have you noticed how quickly discomfort or anxiety can rise within you? It might seem odd after all. Shouldn't stillness and rest feel naturally soothing? Yet to your ego, moments of quiet become strangely unsettling because stillness gently reveals how much of your identity was built upon continuous movement, achievement, and control. Imagine, for instance, a person deeply committed to their career, accustomed to filling every hour of their day with productive activities. On the rare occasion they take a full day off, instead of feeling restful, they're met with a wave of guilt or restlessness, quietly wondering who they are without something urgent to accomplish. This happens because their sense of self is closely tied to constant productivity. Without tasks to validate their worth, their ego begins to feel threatened. In stillness, the very foundation of control crumbles away, revealing its illusory nature. Your ego perceives this quiet as an emptiness, something dangerous to its survival, because without a continuous stream of external validation, it fears losing relevance entirely. Emotional rest becomes a mirror, reflecting clearly your inner dependence on constant action, busyness, or solving problems to affirm who you are. This reflection can trigger unease, because the silence gently forces you to confront an inner void, an absence of the usual chaos or struggle you've grown accustomed to. The key insight here is powerful. Stillness itself doesn't cause fear. Rather, it gently reveals the ego's hidden fear of becoming irrelevant in a peaceful environment. As your mind slows down, you begin to see that your true identity doesn't require continual external validation, tasks to complete, or problems to fix to feel valuable. The quiet space that emerges when you pause allows the deeper, authentic part of you to surface unburdened, clear, and quietly powerful. Recognizing this dynamic is transformative, as it helps you gently detach from the ego's addiction to constant motion. Now, consider this carefully. If ongoing struggle and effort act as fuel for the ego's existence, what happens to your inner self when you simply stop feeding it? When you step back from constant striving, you may wonder how anything meaningful gets accomplished without continuous effort. Your ego believes strongly that action equals power, that pushing harder, working longer, and controlling outcomes is the only way to succeed or influence reality. But the truth, gently revealed by the principles of quantum energy, is that action alone doesn't shape your world nearly as powerfully as your state of alignment does. Consider clearly the subtle yet profound distinction. It's not about how much you do, but about the energy and clarity from which you act. Picture two people beginning similar projects, each with the same resources and opportunities. The first person dives in with urgency, anxiety, and a restless desire to control every detail, believing effort alone ensures success. Meanwhile, the second moves forward calmly, guided by quiet certainty and clear, grounded intentions. The energy behind their actions is entirely different, one filled with worry and tension, the other rooted deeply in clarity and peaceful confidence. And notice carefully how the world responds differently to each. The anxious effort attracts resistance, delays, and confusion, while the calm, centered approach seems effortlessly supported, drawing in synchronicities, cooperation, and positive momentum. The quantum field doesn't respond simply to the amount of action you take. It responds to harmony within your actions, the coherence of your energy, and the alignment of your being. Realize deeply that your intention, the state from which you approach any endeavor, quietly shapes outcomes more powerfully than sheer force ever could. Alignment is subtle, yet profound. It harmonizes your intentions with the quantum field, gently, magnetizing opportunities that match your inner frequency. This is why busy effort without inner clarity rarely produces lasting satisfaction or success. True influence emerges naturally from your state of being, how deeply aligned you are, how clearly your actions reflect your genuine intentions. Understand clearly this empowering truth. The quantum doesn't reward frantic hustle or relentless pushing. It softly responds to your alignment, your internal harmony. Now, with this newfound understanding, when emotions rise and external chaos knocks gently at your door, what can you practically do next to maintain your alignment and effortlessly guide your reality from within? Imagine standing at the edge of a powerful river, watching as the currents flow past you with strength and purpose. You feel the energy and motion, yet remain securely rooted on the shore. This is the essence of emotional neutrality, not numbness or detachment, but a quiet, grounded awareness that allows you to fully experience every emotion without becoming swept away by its force. Every feeling that arises within you carries its own unique energy, yet none of these energies need to dictate your next action or define who you truly are. Picture clearly a moment when you receive a message from someone important, perhaps a supervisor or colleague, and the tone is somewhat critical or uneasy. Notice how quickly anxiety or defensiveness can surge within you, tempting you to react impulsively, to immediately justify yourself, or to question your worth. Now, gently imagine choosing a different path, taking a deep breath, stepping back internally, and simply observing the emotions as they surface and move within your body. In this conscious pause, you allow yourself to fully feel the energy of the emotion, perhaps a subtle tightening in your chest, a gentle tension in your shoulders, but you do not become it, nor let it pull you into a reaction. You stand as the observer, compassionate yet detached, fully awake yet untroubled by the intensity of what arises. You are learning that emotions are not commands requiring your obedience. They are simply passing waves of energy that rise, peak, and naturally subside when given space to flow. Mastery begins precisely at this point of non-reactivity, the quiet moment when you gently release the need to respond immediately, choosing instead to witness and allow. When you do this consistently, your emotions lose their power to control your actions, freeing you from the exhausting cycle of impulsive reactions and regret. Emotional neutrality gives you profound inner freedom because it reveals your true self as separate from the temporary storms that move through you. Your feelings are vital messengers, but they do not have to dictate your path forward. The deeper truth is this: when you cultivate inner space, when you patiently observe rather than impulsively obey, you reclaim your power and begin to experience lasting peace. But to reach this genuine calm, you must first deeply understand how emotional energy operates within your own body. Imagine your emotions as clouds moving gently across the vast expanse of the sky. They come, linger briefly, and drift away. Yet the sky itself remains unchanged, spacious, and untouched by any single cloud. Your true essence, your real identity, is like that clear and infinite sky present, peaceful, always intact, despite the temporary storms that pass through. Emotions, whether anger, worry, or frustration, are simply fleeting energies that flow through your inner atmosphere. They are never permanent fixtures unless you cling to them, identify with them, or resist their natural movement. Consider, for example, a morning commute filled with heavy traffic. Perhaps you're running late, cars barely moving, and a surge of irritation begins to rise within you, tightening your chest, quickening your pulse. In that precise moment, you have a powerful choice. You can either let the irritation sweep you into deeper frustration, fueling thoughts of blame or annoyance, or you can consciously pause, breathe deeply, and quietly observe the sensation without judgment. When you gently acknowledge your feelings as temporary states, you create a clear separation between your emotions and your identity, understanding deeply that irritation is simply something passing through, not a definition of who you are. By cultivating this clear awareness, you remain firmly anchored in a peaceful center within yourself, even amid external chaos. This mindful perspective profoundly transforms your relationship with emotional energy. Rather than being caught in an exhausting struggle with how you feel, you learn to gently observe each wave of emotion, recognizing its transient nature. Each feeling, no matter how strong, has a natural arc, arising and then dissipating, unless held tightly by the mind. Understanding this liberates you from unnecessary emotional turmoil, restoring your innate power to respond rather than react impulsively. You reclaim emotional mastery, not by suppressing feelings or denying their presence, but by calmly allowing them to flow, pass, and dissolve naturally. This simple act of observation frees you to consciously choose your response in every situation, empowering you to maintain inner stability even when external circumstances challenge you. Remember clearly this powerful truth: you are the expansive sky itself, ever present and calm. The storms are merely temporary visitors, passing through without ever defining who you truly are. Every emotion you feel carries within it a gentle, yet powerful message, quietly guiding you toward deeper understanding of your inner landscape, provided you listen carefully rather than reacting blindly. Imagine your emotions as messengers arriving at your doorstep, each bearing valuable insights about your hidden desires, needs, or boundaries. For instance, anger often signals that someone or something has crossed an important personal boundary. Sadness softly suggests a yearning for deeper connection or recognition. Yet, the crucial skill lies in your ability to pause, to hear the message clearly without immediately surrendering to a habitual response. Consider a moment when you send an important text message and receive no reply. Almost instantly, sadness or anxiety might arise, suggesting you've been forgotten, ignored, or abandoned. But if you gently pause and look closer, observing these feelings without judgment or immediate reaction, you may recognize they stem not from the present circumstance, but from a deeper, older fear of rejection or loneliness. With compassionate awareness, you can clearly discern that your current emotion is not a direct reflection of the present reality, but rather an echo of past experiences. By carefully translating these emotional messages, you transform them from being your masters into becoming wise guides. Emotional insight emerges naturally when you remain present and curious, gently questioning why certain feelings are surfacing rather than accepting them as absolute truths. When you observe your emotions in this way, rather than obeying them, automatically they become sources of wisdom and strength rather than triggers of impulsivity. Remember this powerful truth: emotions are valuable informants, but they do not define you or control your choices. When you shift your relationship to emotions, from obedience to understanding, you cultivate profound emotional resilience, enabling clearer, more empowered responses to life's complexities. You develop the skillful ability to perceive subtle nuances in your feelings, gaining deep insight into your true inner needs and desires, without becoming overwhelmed by momentary reactions. This newfound emotional literacy bridges the gap between automatic reactions and thoughtful responses. So how can you further harness this space between reaction and choice, transforming it into genuine personal power and freedom? Let's gently explore this essential shift together right now. In every single moment of your life, whether you're aware of it or not, you are standing at a vibrational fork in the road. You cannot always control what happens around you, the unexpected comments, the stressful emails, the disappointments, but you always have the power to choose how you respond. And that choice determines your frequency, which in turn reshapes your timeline. One path leads toward familiar emotional patterns like fear, frustration, or lack the automatic responses you've practiced over and over again. The other path leads toward a higher vibration, peace, love, grounded presence. This is your greatest power, not the ability to manipulate outer events, but the quiet strength to choose your energetic response. Imagine receiving a critical message from a client about a project you've poured your heart into. The old pattern might flare up quickly: defensiveness, self-doubt, or disappointment rising like a wave. But now you know better. You pause, you breathe, and in that space, you reclaim your power. You can respond not from wounded pride or fear, but from clarity and calm professionalism. This inner shift doesn't just change how the situation unfolds, it changes your internal state, your relationship with yourself, and your resonance in the quantum field. Your response is not just an action, it is an energetic signature that signals your readiness to embody a new version of yourself. Each time you consciously choose your vibration over your emotional reflex, you become the author of a different timeline. You begin to rewire not only your nervous system, but your future. The truth is this: your reaction writes your timeline, but your frequency rewrites your reality. Recognizing this puts the power back in your hands. And while emotions may still rise, the ability to hold steady and respond from a grounded place becomes your anchor. But how can you remain centered in the middle of an emotional wave? Let's now explore the deeper energetic skill that allows you to stay stable even when the current gets strong. When you find yourself standing at that frequency fork, with emotions beginning to surge and your old reactions ready to take over, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing, not yet. Don't respond to the message. Don't explain yourself. Don't react to the tension. Instead, bring your attention inward and return to your breath. Inhale deeply, allowing your chest to rise and your belly to soften. Exhale slowly, gently, as if you're signaling to your entire system that it's safe to pause. This simple act is far more than a calming technique. It's a frequency recalibration. It pulls you out of the momentum of emotional reflex and brings you into conscious choice. Think of the breath as a sacred bridge connecting your instinctive survival mind with your higher awareness. It's the reset button hidden in plain sight. Imagine standing backstage before a big presentation. Your hands are slightly shaky. Your thoughts are racing and your heart is pounding. The old voice might say, "I'm nervous," but now you pause and breathe. As you inhale deeply, you gently reframe. This isn't fear. This is expansion. This is my energy preparing to rise. The breath becomes your ally, your signal to the field that you are no longer reacting from lack, but responding from centered presence. Each conscious breath steadies your inner environment, aligning your energy with clarity and calm. You are no longer caught in a storm. You are guiding the weather from within. The moment you learn to breathe with intention during discomfort, you reclaim control over how your energy moves through space and time. You're no longer hijacked by the emotional noise. You are present. You are grounded. And from this stable place, your response becomes magnetic. This is how you begin to act from fullness, not from fear. When your inner system is regulated, the outer world begins to reflect that peace. And now that you've remembered how to center yourself in the breath, let's explore what happens when you choose to respond from fullness rather than react from scarcity. Once you've grounded yourself in breath, created space between stimulus and response, and stabilized your frequency, you open the door to a completely new way of being, responding from overflow instead of reacting from wounds. When you act from inner fullness, you're no longer waiting for external circumstances to prove your worth, your safety, or your power. You already know who you are. You already feel enough. And everything you do becomes a natural extension of that inner wholeness. Imagine calling a client not out of fear of losing a deal, but from the grounded confidence that your value is intact, regardless of the outcome. That one shift transforms the entire energetic dynamic. You're no longer chasing validation or security, you're embodying it. This is what it means to respond from frequency rather than reaction. You're not adjusting yourself based on what reality throws at you. You are instead shaping reality through the energy you carry. When you live in this state of overflow, you no longer try to force success. You live as the frequency of success already. Life stops being something you need to fix or win, and instead becomes something that naturally responds to your inner alignment. Your actions are no longer fueled by lack or fear of failure, but by clarity, purpose, and presence. This is the difference between seeking approval and expressing truth. It's the difference between grasping for outcomes and magnetizing them. When your inner world is full, you stop needing your outer world to constantly affirm you. And paradoxically, it starts doing so anyway. The mirror of reality reflects not your insecurities, but your settled confidence and calm certainty. When you stop responding from past pain and start creating from present power, everything begins to shift. And from this elevated state, you stop striving to become, you begin to simply be. Because from this point forward, you're not trying to succeed, you are already standing in the vibration of success. So how do we keep this frequency steady as we move through life? Let's now step into the practices that anchor you into lasting embodiment. When your actions are driven by a quiet need to prove your worth, to fix something inside you, or to earn validation from the outside world, you can feel the subtle tension beneath them. A tightness in the chest, a restless urgency, a silent hope that something out there will make you feel enough. This is action born from lack, from an inner emptiness that seeks to be filled through doing. But the truth is, no amount of external achievement can complete what only inner alignment can fulfill. Now imagine a different source of action, one that rises naturally, effortlessly from within. It's not pushed or forced. It's not trying to get somewhere. It's a genuine expansion of your truth. When you act from overflow, you don't move to gain something. You move because your energy is already full and wants to express itself. You don't create to get views, praise, or sales. You create because there's something real inside you that wants to be shared. Think of someone recording a video from a place of authentic inspiration, their words alive with clarity and presence. That energy draws people in, not because they're trying to attract, but because they're radiating truth. In contrast, another person may say the same words, but if they're only speaking to gain attention, the energy feels different, and the results reflect that difference. The field responds to alignment, not effort. So remember this clearly. When you act from lack, you chase outcomes. But when you act from overflow, you magnetize them. You become a signal, not a seeker. You begin to see that truest power doesn't come from how hard you try, but from how aligned you are when you move. Action then becomes a celebration of your being, not a compensation for your perceived flaws. And the results you once tried, so hard to force, now arrive naturally, with less struggle and more grace. But how do you know, deeply and truly, when you're in that state of fullness? How can you feel it within your body, in your breath, in your presence? Let's explore how to recognize and anchor that inner state. Once you begin to act from overflow, rather than from the tension of not enough, your body becomes your most honest guide. Long before your mind creates a story or justifies a choice, your physical sensations are already telling the truth. If An action feels tight in your chest, heavy in your limbs, or wrapped in hesitation. That is your body signaling that you may be moving from lack, from pressure, or from a hidden need to prove. But if the action feels light, expansive, and energized, even if it stretches your comfort zone, that is often a sign you're flowing from alignment. Your body doesn't lie. It speaks in subtle cues, guiding you toward integrity with your inner state. Imagine two business owners writing the same type of email. One sits down with an anxious need for a sale, writing with the energy of, "I need you to say yes." The other writes with calm certainty, rooted in the belief that the value they offer is enough, and whoever resonates will respond in their own time. The words may be similar, but the energy behind them changes everything. The reader feels the difference, even if they can't explain why. That is the power of embodied action. When your actions emerge from fullness, they carry a natural magnetism. You don't need to push, because your presence already speaks clearly. And the body reflects this harmony. Your breath flows easier, your posture relaxes, and you feel more connected to the moment. Every inspired action begins not in the mind, but in the body's subtle yes. So before you move, speak, or decide, ask your body how it feels. Is there contraction or expansion? Is there tension or flow? The body speaks truth long before the mind does. And when you learn to trust that inner signal, your actions no longer feel like effort. They become embodiment. You are no longer trying to express something. You are the expression itself. And from this space of grounded fullness, life begins to meet you in new ways. Let's now explore how this energy of embodiment becomes your most powerful frequency. Anchor. When your body aligns with the energy of enough, a deeper truth begins to emerge. You no longer act to become someone. You act because you've remembered who you already are. This is the essence of vibrational embodiment. Acting as if isn't pretending. It's not about faking confidence or forcing belief. It's about allowing your current actions to reflect the identity you've already chosen in your inner world. Every decision you make, every word you speak, and every step you take from this space becomes a living signal to the field, declaration that says, "This is who I am now." You're not waiting for a result to prove it. You're embodying the version of you that already has it, already lives it, already breathes it. Think of someone walking down the street with a calm posture, steady breath, and a presence that draws attention, not because they're trying to impress, but because they are rooted in their knowing. Their energy isn't loud. It's anchored. They don't need to convince anyone of their worth because they've stopped questioning it themselves. That's what it means to act from the already frequency. It's a subtle, powerful shift where your outer world begins to mirror your inner alignment. Instead of striving to reach a goal so you can feel accomplished, you start moving from the frequency of accomplishment itself. You stop chasing worth and begin radiating it. And life responds, not because of how hard you push, but because of how clearly you broadcast your identity through your vibration. This is the turning point, where your actions no longer seek to manifest a new reality. They express the reality you've already accepted as true. Your timeline shifts, not through force, but through alignment. And now that you've remembered this quiet yet potent power, let's go even deeper into the secret truth most people never speak. The quantum field doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your frequency. In the quantum field, the linear passage of time holds far less weight than most people believe. It's not how long you've waited, how hard you've worked, or how much time has passed that determines when something manifests. It's the frequency you're embodying right now that matters most. The field responds to coherence, not calendars. Every time you feel urgency, impatience, or desperation, you're unknowingly signaling, "I don't have it yet," to the field. And the field, being precise and neutral, mirrors that frequency right back to you. The result is a loop or repeating cycle of almost having, nearly receiving, but never fully arriving. But when you shift into a state of inner alignment, where your energy matches the experience you desire, something changes. The timeline begins to bend. What once felt far away suddenly begins to move toward you. Think of someone who has been visualizing a goal for months, only to finally let go, release the pressure, and surrender the outcome. And that's when the phone rings, the opportunity lands, or the path becomes clear. It's not because enough time passed. It's because their frequency finally lined up. The energy of surrender carries the signature of trust and wholeness, which opens the door for the field to respond. This is why some people seem to manifest quickly and effortlessly. It's not luck, it's resonance. They are living as if it's already done, not hoping that one day it will happen. They've let go of the emotional grip that delays the process. So remember this, the universe doesn't check how long you've wanted it. It checks how fully you're embodying it. Time is irrelevant when coherence is present. Your alignment is the shortcut. And the faster you come into vibrational harmony with your desired reality, the faster it begins to appear. Now let's explore what actually accelerates that alignment and collapses time around your intentions. When you ask, when will it happen? With increasing urgency, you are not just expressing curiosity, you're emitting a frequency of absence. You are subtly affirming that the thing you desire is not yet here, and in doing so, you keep it at a distance. The energy of attachment, even if masked as motivation, carries tension. That tension interrupts the natural flow of manifestation because it's rooted in control, not trust. The more you pressure time to deliver, the more you reinforce the belief that you lack what you seek. The quantum field, attuned to vibration over intention, does not respond to your words. It responds to your emotional signal. And desperation is a powerful signal of lack. Imagine someone who checks their inbox every hour, hoping for a reply that validates their worth or proves their efforts worked. Their actions may seem productive, but underneath lies anxiety, self-doubt, and the subtle fear that maybe it's not coming. That internal friction broadcasts an energetic mismatch with the very thing they desire. The field listens not to what you want, but to what you are being. And when you are being tense, needy, or fixated on time, you are not being receptive. This is why clinging to timing is the fastest way to slow everything down. You are trying to force alignment instead of embodying it, and every ounce of pressure creates more resistance. Desperation is the delay disguised as desire. So how do? You reverse that pattern? You let go. You stop counting the days and start becoming the vibration. You live in the energy of it's already done, not because you're pretending, but because you trust the field more than the clock. And when you do, something subtle shifts, time collapses. Outcomes soften toward you, and reality begins to flow. Now let's step into the space where time dissolves, and becoming the frequency becomes the only thing that truly matters. The moment you stop gripping the clock and start embodying the frequency, something profound happens. Reality begins to shift, not later, but now. In the quantum field, change is not delayed by time. It is activated by coherence. When your energy shifts, the mirror of life responds instantly, reflecting the new signal you're broadcasting. This is not a metaphor. It's the nature of the energetic matrix that holds all potential. Just like a mirror doesn't hesitate to reflect your image, the field doesn't delay reflecting your frequency. It is immediate, neutral, and exact. Even a single moment of authentic gratitude, peace, or clarity can ripple outward and restructure the unfolding of your timeline. Imagine someone who has been consumed by stress and suddenly drops into presence. In that moment, they breathe deeper, feel lighter, and release their grip on control. Within hours, something shifts. A call comes in, an email arrives, a path opens. This isn't magic. It's resonance. The field is always listening to who you are now, not who you were yesterday or who you hope to be tomorrow. Reality doesn't shift in the future. It shifts with your now. So when you stop waiting and start embodying, when you stop trying to, get can start choosing to be, your outer world begins to catch up with your inner state. This is the key to collapsing time, to moving from effort to ease, from striving to signal. But while the shift can happen in an instant, maintaining that vibration consistently is what sustains the new timeline. Without daily energetic stability, you drift back into old frequencies and wonder why things reverse. So the real question becomes, how do you stay in coherence? How do you remain aligned when life gets noisy? What anchors you into your chosen vibration day after day? Let's now explore the final chapter of this journey, mastering your daily frequency so that your entire life becomes a living reflection of who you've chosen to be. You don't need to overhaul your life to stay aligned. You only need to anchor a few sacred moments each day in presence. These micro rituals, tiny acts of conscious attention, are more powerful than they appear. A single deep breath with awareness, a hand placed gently over your heart in gratitude, 1 minute of stillness before the world rushes in, can recalibrate your entire energetic field. It's not about doing more. It's about being more in the moments you already have. Just like tuning an instrument before playing, these habits tune your inner frequency, so your actions, reactions, and thoughts flow from a centered place. Imagine waking up, and before reaching for your phone or diving into your schedule, you pause, you breathe, you whisper to yourself, I choose peace today. In that 1 minute, you've already shifted timelines. You've reminded your nervous system who's in charge. You've chosen to lead your day from alignment rather than reaction. And the world responds to that signal. These aren't just routines, they are frequency stabilizers. Like energetic seatbelts, they keep you grounded when chaos arrives. And it will, but the more often you pause with intention, the stronger your baseline coherence becomes. Over time, you're not just having moments of alignment, you become the one who lives from it. Presence compounds, energy builds, and soon, those small rituals are no longer optional. They are your power source. You don't need more hours. You need more presence in the hours you already live. And when you bring consciousness into the ordinary becomes miraculous. So how do you bring this same depth of presence into the most overlooked, routine moments of life? That's where real mastery begins, not in the big breakthroughs, but in your ability to stay awake inside the everyday. Let's explore now how presence transforms even the simplest moments into anchors of coherence and clarity. You don't need an hour of meditation to stay in alignment. What you need is presence, genuine, embodied presence in the seemingly insignificant parts of it. Your day. It's not during the peak breakthroughs or perfect silence that your vibration is most tested. It's in the mundane, the repetitive, the ordinary. When you pour your coffee, wash the dishes, tie your shoes, or walk to the car, you are shaping your energy just as much as when you journal or set intentions. The way you hold your body, the thoughts you allow in as the water runs over your hands, the breath you choose to take before speaking, these are the silent votes you cast for the vibration you live in. Imagine waking up, and instead of immediately checking notifications, you listen, not to your phone, but to the water boiling, to your heartbeat, to the breeze outside your window. That single moment becomes a statement. I am here, and I am not running from myself. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. The field doesn't ask for performance. It asks for presence. You could be walking through a crowded street or waiting in traffic and still be the most grounded, coherent presence in that space. And from that space, you influence. From that space, you magnetize. Because how you do anything is how you vibrate into everything. There is sacredness in the simple if you're awake enough to see it. There is alignment in the ordinary if you're willing to show up for it. So when the world begins to move faster, louder, and more chaotic, what anchors you? What allows you to remain calm in motion, quiet in noise, and steady in change? Let's explore now how to hold your frequency, not just when it's easy, but when life starts spinning and the pull to disconnect feels stronger than ever. That's when the real practice begins. The real test of your frequency isn't when life is peaceful and everything flows your way. It's when pressure mounts, when expectations aren't met, when emotions swell and chaos knocks at your door. In those moments, your nervous system will beg you to react, to protect, to fight or flee. But here's the secret. You don't have to obey that impulse. You can pause, you can breathe, and in that breath, you choose again. The moment you do, you step out of survival and into sovereignty. Your power was never about controlling the outer world. It's about mastering your inner world. That is the only constant you truly own. Imagine being in the middle of an argument, emotions flaring, words escalating, and instead of matching the noise, you go silent. Not as a withdrawal, but as a reconnection. You place your awareness on your heart. You feel your feet on the ground, and you remember who you are. From there, your response carries a frequency that diffuses instead of inflames. You don't control the storm, but you become the stillness inside it. And from that stillness, the field recalibrates. This is how coherence influences chaos, not by overpowering it, but by refusing to join it. You are not here to control reality. You are here to calibrate it through your field. Each time you remain anchored while the world wobbles, you rewrite what's possible. You shift timelines. You become the eye of the storm, not untouched by life, but unshaken by it. So ask yourself, if this became your daily way of being, what kind of life would you be constructing moment by moment? What reality would naturally rise to meet the energy you keep choosing? Let's now enter the final space of this journey, the embodied now, the frequency of the future felt fully in this moment. Because in truth, that's where everything begins. The true measure of your mastery is not found when results arrive or when praise surrounds you. It's found in the stillness between cause and effect. It's found in the quiet gap where nothing seems to move, no evidence appears, and the outside world offers no confirmation. This is where most people abandon their frequency. This is where doubt disguises itself as logic and where fear whispers that maybe it's not working. But this is also the birthplace of all quantum shifts. When you hold your energetic alignment, not because of what's happening, but despite what isn't, you declare to the field that your state is not for sale. You're not negotiating with reality. You are embodying it. Imagine someone who sets an income goal that feels deeply aligned. Weeks pass, even months, with no visible return. No clients, no signs, no proof. And yet, each day, they wake up and breathe into their vision. They move as if it is already done. They don't pretend it's not performance, it's embodiment. Then, like a wave gathering unseen strength beneath the surface, the shift arrives. Not as a miracle, but as a mirror of their unwavering state. The field always listens, but it responds most clearly when your signal is stable. And stability is built not during results, but during silence. The moment you can hold faith without evidence, you no longer chase alignment, you become it. That's why this space between intention and outcome is not a pause. It's the proving ground. It's where belief evolves into knowing, and where knowing becomes frequency. Faith is not loud. It doesn't demand attention. Faith is frequency held in silence, not just belief in noise. So why is this invisible holding more powerful than non-stop effort? Why does energetic steadiness bend reality faster than hustle ever could? Let's now explore why stillness and alignment outpaces action without coherence. While many chase results with restless action, the quantum field tunes into something far more subtle and potent: your vibrational stability. It doesn't respond to how much you do, how fast you move, or how loud your declarations are. It responds to the consistency of your inner state. This is the paradox most overlook. The faster you try to force reality, the more you reinforce the signal that you don't yet believe it's here. Rushing is the language of lack, but steadiness, gentle, grounded, unwavering steadiness, is the frequency of already having. True power is not in dramatic action, but in calm repetition of truth. When you breathe into your coherence each morning, when you write down what you're grateful for, even if nothing has changed, when you hold back from reacting impulsively in favor of a grounded response, you are stabilizing the energy that creates worlds. Imagine the content creator who shows up every day to live stream with no audience, no applause, and no external evidence. Most would quit, but he doesn't. Not because he's obsessed with outcome, but because he's becoming the person who lives in that frequency presence, clarity, giving. He's not waiting for viewers. He's calibrating himself to the version who already has them. And the field responds, not because of his hustle, but because of his alignment. This is the secret hidden beneath all breakthroughs. The universe doesn't reward noise, it reflects coherence. Stability is a magnet. It's a gravitational pull that draws matching realities into orbit. And it's not a performance, it's a choice repeated until it becomes identity. So when everything inside you wants to rush, push, or prove, pause. Return to breath. Return to presence. Because it's not speed that creates collapse in the timeline, it's coherence that accelerates it. The field isn't impressed by how fast you act. It responds to how true you remain. So how do you remain anchored in this frequency when your inner world is tested, when emotion rises, or when doubt tries to regain control? Let's now discover how to hold that frequency through challenge, not just through stillness. Staying in frequency when life flows is easy, but holding that same vibration when everything contracts, that's where devotion reveals itself. Not the kind of devotion that demands perfection or punishment, but the sacred commitment to return, again and again, to the truth of who you are. This is the real spiritual discipline. Not dramatic rituals or rigid routines, but the quiet power of choosing your frequency regardless of conditions. Energetic discipline is not about forcing alignment. It's about honoring your alignment as sacred. It's waking up and saying, I remember who I am, even when the outer world tempts you to forget. It's breathing through the pull of the old self without feeding it. It's saying no to the urge to spiral, not because you're avoiding the emotion, but because you know it's not your home anymore. Discipline, in its highest form, is love in action. It's the soul keeping its promises, not through noise, but through return. Return to presence. Return to coherence. Return to the version of you that chose this frequency, not as a wish, but as a declaration. Imagine someone receives a painful rejection. The old self would crumble, spiral, seek validation. But this version smiles softly, breathes deeply, and says, I'm still me, and what's mine cannot miss me. That is discipline born from devotion. No striving, no convincing, just steady being. When you no longer chase evidence to feel worthy, when you show up with the same energy, whether results are visible or not, you become the mirror the field cannot ignore. Because consistency and frequency isn't just a technique, it's who you become. And when the old patterns knock, you don't fight them. You bow to them and rise higher. That's the shift. That's the inner mastery. And now, as you look back at the space you've held and the storms you've weathered, a deeper truth begins to emerge. You were never trying to manifest something. You were remembering someone, and that someone is already here. So let's now enter the final chapter, not of doing more, but of embodying all that you've become. Your true frequency is not revealed when everything flows easily, but when life backs you into a corner and dares you to forget who you are. It's in those moments when results don't show, support disappears, and your nervous system trembles, that your vibration speaks the loudest. This is not the time to pretend or posture. This is the sacred test of resonance. Will you collapse back into the old self, or will you rise from the invisible root of your being? It's easy to chant affirmations when you're calm, but what about when chaos arrives uninvited? What happens when the money is delayed, the relationship cracks, or the plan unravels? That's when the ego lunges forward, whispering old stories of fear and failure. But awareness is your armor. When you can catch, the moment the ego grips your spine, and still choose breath, presence, and remembrance, you are embodying true energetic mastery. Imagine a business owner facing a sudden loss. The former self would panic, react, and spiral, but this version pauses. He breathes, he anchors, and from that stillness, he affirms not the loss, but the truth. I am still the source. I was never just the result. This is the frequency the field listens to, the one that does not waver when the mirror seems empty. Because the universe is not testing you, it's reflecting you. And if the reflection gets dark, it's not punishment. It's the invitation to shine deeper light. Your power is not in bypassing pain, but in choosing who you remain as it passes through. This is not performance, this is presence. And it's in this quiet resilience that your next reality is already rewriting itself. So the real question becomes, not what do I do when I feel fear, but who I become when fear visits. And as we explore that, we step into the next threshold, where emotion pulls hard, but presence pulls deeper. Let's find out how to hold steady when the storm tries to call you back. When fear knocks and emotions rise like a tide, your ability to stay centered becomes your superpower. This is where emotional neutrality begins, not as numbness or suppression, but as the sacred skill of witnessing without drowning. True mastery doesn't come from avoiding how you feel, but from creating inner spaciousness wide enough to hold any emotion without being defined by it. Imagine receiving a rejection, whether it's from a client, a partner, or an opportunity you deeply desired. The old self may spiral into stories of unworthiness, questioning every move. But the awakened self pauses, breathes, and observes. Yes, I feel this sting, it says, but this moment is not who I am. Emotional neutrality is the moment you become the home instead of the storm. It's the shift from battling your inner world to becoming the container that gently holds it. From this space, reactions lose their urgency. You're no longer pulled into fight or flight, nor seduced into self-sabotage. You begin to respond from a grounded place where stillness replaces reactivity and choice replaces habit. This neutrality is not weakness, it's the beginning of energetic sovereignty. It allows you to feel sadness without collapse, anger without destruction, and joy without attachment. And this steady inner field starts to guide your outer reality in subtle, powerful ways. The person who no longer panics when plans shift or emotions flare becomes a magnet for new timelines. Because neutrality is clarity, and clarity is magnetic. You no longer send mixed signals to the quantum field. You become a clear frequency that says, I trust myself enough not to fear my feelings. This is emotional alchemy, the transmutation of chaos into calm by simply staying awake. And as you refine this presence, the field around you responds with equal coherence. So the next time emotion visits, welcome it with grace, hold it without ownership, and let it pass like a cloud in an open sky. For in this gentle holding, You become the one who chooses instead of reacts. And it's from this empowered neutrality that your next act begins, not from fixing, but from full awareness. Let's now explore what that conscious choice really looks like. From that still center of neutrality, something extraordinary begins to emerge. The kind of action that is not rooted in lack, fear, or the need to prove anything, but arises as a pure extension of who you already are. When your energy no longer leaks into defending your worth or chasing external validation, your movement through the world becomes effortless and magnetic. You don't push to be seen, you simply shine, and life adjusts to your glow. This is the power of aligned identity, where doing becomes an extension of being. The moment you stop trying to become enough, and instead act as someone who already is, every step you take carries the vibration of coherence. There's no tension in your body, no tightness in your voice, no pressure in your choices. There is only the natural overflow of truth expressing itself, like the artist who paints not for applause, but from the joy of channeling beauty. The joy itself becomes the signal that draws in those meant to witness and receive. When you live from this space, you no longer measure success by outcome, but by alignment. Your inner calibration becomes your compass. The timeline you once chased now moves toward you because you've become a vibrational match for it. There is no need to shout your worth into the void. The field already knows who you are by how you show up. This is how you stop trying to arrive and instead begin to emanate. Your life is no longer about arriving somewhere out there. It's about anchoring who you are here and now. From this state, all effort becomes integration. You are no longer acting to convince the world. You're expressing to embody your truth more deeply. And in this embodiment, the field listens, echoes, and arranges. So now, as you stand at the threshold of everything you've felt, known, and remembered, the only thing left is to declare it, to unify every insight into one final signal, to close the loop not with more effort, but with a single powerful frequency. Let us enter the final part. There comes a turning point on every awakening journey where the energy shifts from striving to allowing, from chasing what you desire to letting it arrive naturally through you. This is not passivity, it is mastery. When you say with full presence, I let it in, you're no longer negotiating with life from a place of lack. You're radiating an internal yes, so strong that the external world has no choice but to respond. True allowing does not begin in your thoughts. It begins in your nervous system, in the way your shoulders drop, in the way your breath slows down, in the quiet knowing that there is nothing missing. When you live from this place, you don't need to prove you are ready. You are the readiness itself. A frequency of allowing is not lazy. It is deeply magnetic. It's not a giving up. It's a surrendering into alignment. It's the calm confidence of someone who no longer needs the outcome to validate their worth. Imagine a woman who stops chasing love. Instead, she becomes the embodiment of love in how she treats herself, how she moves through her day, how she speaks to the world. And then love arrives not as a rescue, but as a mirror. The same is true for money, purpose, opportunity. You no longer need to pursue them with a desperate grasp. You become the version of yourself who is already worthy of receiving, and your life becomes the evidence. The field of energy does not respond to force. It responds to coherence. It responds to your ability to become the channel, the open door. The moment you stop chasing what you want is the moment you become visible to it. Because now you are not reaching outward. You are holding steady. You are no longer the seeker. You are the frequency keeper. So when you say, I let it in, you're not waiting for a miracle. You are becoming the space where the miracle already exists. And to fully allow it, you must go one step deeper. You must feel it as if it's already here. Allowing is not a thought you think. It is a frequency. You feel and become. After declaring, "I let it in," the next step is not to look outside for confirmation, but to look within and embody what that frequency feels like. Close your eyes. Take a slow inhale. As you exhale, gently whisper to your inner being, "I let it in." Now bring your awareness to your body. Notice the places that are holding tension, the subtle resistance in your shoulders, your stomach, your jaw. Those are the spots still guarding, still unsure if it's truly safe to receive. Breathe into those spaces with compassion, not force. Softly invite them to open, not because they must, but because they are ready. When your body begins to soften, your field begins to expand. This is the quiet transmission of permission, the silent signal that tells the universe, "I am safe enough to receive. I am steady enough to hold. I am aligned enough to allow." Imagine a business owner who no longer tries to push or control every outcome. Instead of obsessing over the next sale, they shift their energy inward and choose to embody abundance. They create, share, and serve from that place. And as they stop resisting, the clients arrive. Not because they worked harder, but because they became more open. This is the paradox of allowing. The less you try to grab it, the more it flows to you. And that flow begins in your nervous system. It begins with safety, with calm, with a deep trust that what you desire is not outside of you. It is waiting for your invitation. So receive not just with your mind, but with your presence. Let your breath be the doorway. Let your body be the signal. Let your stillness speak louder than striving, because the field does not reward urgency. It responds to regulation. When you feel the energy of "I let it in" moving through your cells, there is no longer anything to prove, only something to become. And in that becoming, a deeper truth awakens, ready to be declared. True surrender is not about giving up. It is about giving way to who you really are. When you say, "I let it in," you are not stepping back from life. You are stepping into the purest version of yourself. The mind will always try to calculate, to control, to chase outcomes. But the soul wants to dissolve those edges and simply be. That is the moment when surrender becomes your greatest power. You are no longer trying to manage every variable. You are becoming the vibration that magnetizes what already belongs to you. It may feel uncomfortable at first because it requires the unfamiliar. Stillness instead of striving, trust instead of tension, presence instead of performance. But this is where the transformation begins. Imagine someone who normally maps every hour of their day, ticking off tasks to prove progress. Then one morning, they breathe in stillness and whisper, "I allow everything good to come to me today, without force." That simple shift done, not from passivity, but from power, opens doors they never saw coming. Surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the release of effort so alignment can lead. It is how you stop chasing timelines and start embodying them. When you let go of the need to prove, to push, to fix, you become the calm center of a magnetic field that bends reality around your being. Letting go is not letting down. It is letting the real in. And from this space of alignment, your creativity flows not from pressure, but from presence. Your path unfolds not from planning, but from resonance. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of pure creation, guided not by fear, but by frequency. If this message resonated with you, take a breath, tune into your field, and allow it to deepen. And if you're ready to live from this space more fully, support this channel by subscribing, liking, commenting below with what spoke to you most, and sharing this with someone who's ready to rise into their frequency. Let it in. Let it unfold.